Hey guys, and welcome to my Riven guide. Today we're going to be going over the best runes for Riven, as well as the best build, as well as the skill order, as many other things such as the laning phase, as well as the mid-late game, team fighting, tips, and most important thing, we're going to be going over the combos as well. Now, before this video is starting, I do want to say though, if you're new to this YouTube channel or you've already been watching this YouTube channel, don't forget to follow my stream as well, because I'm actually streaming about 5 to 6 times a week right now, teaching my community how to get better live on stream, as well as playing challenging games and stuff like that. So if you guys want to get better at League, or you have questions in general, or you want to see Challenger Riven gameplay or other champions in general, don't forget to check out my stream, guys. There will be a link inside the description below. So with that being said, let's continue with the guide. The best runes for Riven at the moment is the Precision Tree. While you do have other options such as Domination and the Resolve one, Precision Tree is actually the best option for Riven at the moment. So inside of the rune page, you want to be going for Conqueror in very much every single game. While you do have other keystones such as the Fleet Footwork and the Press the Attack, they are simply not as good as Conqueror is at the moment. You also want to be taking the Triumph in every game, because this one allows you to snowball a lot easier and make you kind of like risky plays. Now this is where things get really interesting. Alacrity is very good because it allows you to execute your Riven combos a lot better and a lot more easy. But if you feel very confident in doing your Riven combos and you think you don't really need that much attack speed, you also have the option between going Tenacity and going Bloodline. Now Tenacity is only useful if the enemy team has a lot of CC, so if they have a lot of stuns and everything like that, you want to be going for Tenacity. If they don't really have that much CC and you're feeling very confident in your combos, then you can also go for Bloodline. Ultimately, what I recommend is always going for Alacrity, because not only does this make your combos better to execute, but also in terms of split pushing, this is pretty much, in my opinion, the best choice at the moment. Now, the best one for this row is always going to be the Last Stand. I did already mess around with this one quite a lot, but Last Stand is currently the best choice at the moment in terms of numbers. Now for the secondary tree, this is where things get very interesting. So we have the Resolve tree. This tree makes your laning phase generally a lot stronger. You want to be going for Shield Bash if you're going to the Resolve tree, and then you either want to go for Second Wind or you want to go for Bone Plating. Second Wind allows you to have a lot stronger laning phase against champions, which generally pokes you quite a lot. So if they have a lot of poke, you want to be going for Second Wind. If they don't have that much poke, you want to be going for Bone Plating instead. This is very good into champions such as Renekton, who has like a lot of all-in. Now, if you think that you want to have a little bit more of a scaling rune page, you can also go into the Inspiration tree and you can take the free boots with the 5% CDR. Now this is very good for scaling in general and being very strong in the mid-late game. It allows you to have the gold from the free boots, and the 5% CDR is always very good. Now for the bonus stats, what I would recommend is going to the CDR scaling, taking 1 point into CDR, taking 1 point into AD, and then 1 point into armor or magic resist. Really depends on what you're up against. As for the starter items of Riven, I would recommend going for a Doran Shield if you're playing into a matchup which pokes you a lot. If your matchup doesn't really have that much poke, I would recommend going for a Doran's Blade instead. Doran's Blade is very safe, and it allows you, or at least it prevents you from being all in by most of the top laners if you ever happen to make a mistake. If you think that you're going to play really aggressive and you want to snowball in the laning phase, you could also go for the Longsword with 3 potions. Be very careful though. If you go for a longsword, this could mean that you could get all in if you make a single mistake, so be very careful about that. Now for the boots, I would recommend going for a Ninja Tabis if they have a lot of AD or a lot of champions that are like auto attack based. If they don't really have that much AD, you could also go for Mercs instead. Mercs is especially good if you play into champions which have a lot of CC or have a lot of AP in general. Now for the typical build, there are 2 directions which you can go for. Firstly, if you're going to be snowballing very hard in your game, especially early on, I would recommend going for the Ghostblade build. If you think that you need a lot of scaling in the game, you think that you need to be as strong as possible for the mid-late game, I would recommend going for the Black Lever into the Dead Stance build instead. This is pretty much the best build for Riven at the moment. The Ghostblade build is only very good if you're like snowballing, so if you're very unsure about the game, I would recommend always going for this build instead. We also have some very situational items such as the Hex Shrinker. This item is very good into very heavy AP teams in the enemy team. We also have this one, the Scimitar. This one is very useful if you're playing into a team comp which have a lot of CC. And we also have the Edge of the Night. This item is very OP if you want to have like a little bit more health, a little bit more damage overall, but also have a shield before starting a fight. Then again, it's very situational. You only build this if you're extremely fed. So this is pretty much the typical builds that you want to be going for in most of your games. As for the skill order, there's actually two things that you can do. You can max Q, then E, and then W as last if you want to have the most standard skill order. This is basically what 54.6% of all the Riven players are doing. You can also max your Q, then W, and then E. That's something that I do all the time, and it basically allows you to have more damage with your stun, have more CC in general, and also have a lot more wave clear. When playing Riven in the early game in the laning phase, there are two specific things that you want to take a look at. So you have the aggressive playstyle and you have the defensive playstyle. Now obviously this kind of depends on what kind of matchup you're up against. If you are in like a really hard matchup, obviously you want to play as defensive as you can. If you are into a matchup which is actually really easy, or you think that you can snowball really easy, you want to play as aggressive as you can. If you choose to play with the aggressive playstyle, don't just focus on getting the kills, but rather try to focus on getting the pressure in the lane, trying to push out the lane as consistently as you can, so you can use that to roam down to different lanes, maybe helping out your mid laner or helping out your jungler. Maybe you could try to even go mid lane and dive the opponent or trying to get the objective. But the main thing is, try to not just focus on getting the kills, but try to actually pressure so you can use that to carry other lanes as well. If you happen to be in a really bad matchup, you can also decide to play with the defensive playstyle. And obviously, it's not just about playing as defensive as you can, but Riven also has something very broken about her, and that's the fact that she can set up lanes for ganks very easily. She has her shield, which allows you to come really close to your opponent, and you have your stun and your third Q to stop them from running away. So if you're deciding to play very defensive in the early game, you do need to know that it's not just to play safe, but it's also to set up everything for your jungler. You want to play around your jungler. That's one of the most important things. There's a lot of things that you can do in the mid-late game with Riven. You can split very well. She's actually an amazing split pusher, and she can group at any stage in the game and perform very well. She's both an amazing team fighter, and she can split at any point in the game and nearly 1v1 almost anybody in the game. Now obviously, one of the best things that I recommend doing in most games to snowball very hard is to try and split push while trying to get as many jungle camps, as much farm as possible from the enemy team. The more jungle camps you can get from the enemy team, the more the enemy jungler will fall behind, and the more you will get ahead of the enemy team. This is why split pushing is so important with Riven, because not only is she an amazing scaling champion that can do literally everything, but the fact that she has amazing wave clear, she can take about anything that she wants, and she can 1v1 about anybody. So long as you don't get yourself in trouble or you get yourself caught or anything, you should be able to like consistently pressure the side lanes in the mid-late game against almost about any champion in the game. There's also a lot of things that you can do in a team fight with Riven. Firstly, you can defend your AD carry and your AP carry with all the damage that you have and all the CC that you have. If you actually have your flash up, you could even use your flash to engage into the enemy team and then completely destroy their backline, so they're going to be missing out on all their damage and everything else. You can also try to flank the enemy team from behind if you have the chance to do so, because as long as you get close to the enemy AD carry or AP carry, you can easily kill them with a single combo. Even if that's not possible, even if you cannot get to the enemy backline, you can still use all of your damage and CC to defend your own team instead. My best kind of advice that I can give to you for Riven is to limit test as much as you can. If there's like a certain matchup which you think is like really hard to play against, don't mind to play aggressive. Don't mind to try to play as aggressive as you can, so you can test the limits, so you can see how far Riven can actually go to the point where you will lose. It's very normal to lose the first couple times that you play into a certain matchup which you're not familiar with. So learning the matchups all comes with practice. So don't be afraid to limit test as much as you can. Now moving on to the final stage of today's video, which is the combos for Riven. So the next upcoming couple of minutes is going to be a full clip of many Riven combos, pretty much all the combos that you need to know about when playing Riven. So with that being said, guys, good luck on learning the combos, and I'll see you guys very soon.